So you're looking to make picks this week at the Cognizant Classic. This is where you want to start. Golfbet Key Stats has all the big data historically of how winners have gone about their business each week on tour. But Benny Betts, we got to start with some potential weather. The wind expected to boost up on Thursday night into Friday morning. What does that mean for bettors this week?
Like you can see there, Chris, you've got to wait to make your picks. You've got to keep an eye on this forecast because that PM AM wave could be absolutely smashed if those gusts ring true. Look, it's early in the week. We don't know if the forecast will hold, but it's a scary enough proposition for you to hold back, wait and see. And you can tell, let me tell you, right there at the Cognizant Classic right now, the guys that are turning up and registering early are begging. They're begging the officials to put them in the early Thursday, late Friday wave, just in case it happens. But you never know with Mother Nature, right? It could flip around. We're just saying, be very careful. Get all your information from us. Get the key stats. But hold before you fire. Let's get the latest forecast on Wednesday before we go out at it.
Wait as late as you can. And if you don't think it's a big deal, even if there's wind, keep looking at your key stats. That's what we're doing here on Golfbet on Mondays. Hit that subscribe button there on YouTube. We have all the big stats you need to know about that have made winners successful here in the past. Number one at PGA National each year, we're calling it strokes gained tee to green. And it might sound like a cop-out because everyone hits the ball well, but the guys who are leading, Ben, always putt well. It's what you're doing off the green that makes you so good at this place in specific.
Look, I'm almost laughing because there's a meme out there, that says that every week you just have to say, be good, strokes gained tee to green, and you might win on tour. And there is some truth to that. But the reality is here, more than anywhere else at PGA National, this is a factor. And it's quite simply because there's 4 million water hazards out there, 4 million places where if you miss off the tee, you can't recover from. You can't recover from the water. It's a penalty shot, obviously. You're taking a drop and you're falling behind quickly. There's just diabolical places everywhere. Last week, Mexico, smash it. You probably get away with it. In fact, you could bounce off a tree when you go on OB and still be okay, right? You can't get away with that. It's just going to fly into a lake. You're going to be dead. You've got to be really good tee to green and then just make your fair share of putts.
I mean, just the fact that 9 of the last 10 winners here were inside the top 5 of strokes gained tee to green, and 4 of those 9 led. They were number 1 in that stat. So yeah, tons of guys are going to make putts, but it's the players who continue to give themselves chances, hit the ball straight, get it on the green in good proximity. Those are the ones who are going to have the best chance at PGA National. Now, other things to consider on this course as we look some of these course outlook nuggets. Obviously, Ben, the bear trap is the place that they have to tame. Now, you look at the last 6 years. Ben did this data. The bear trap scoring average since 2019 has been almost half a stroke over par at .476. But what did all those winners have in common, Ben, at the bear trap?
Well, 6 of them, or 5 of those 6 were under par on the week playing the bear trap, and the other one was even par. So they've all been even or better while the field has struggled in that area. You have to survive it. It's quite simple as that. If you're going to be in trouble in that section, which gets hyped up, and yes, there's trouble all over the course, but this is the place where everyone, their heart rate starts to go a little more, things start to go wrong for a lot of players. You need to survive it. And if you can thrive on it, if you can be under par, look, it takes you a long way towards winning this championship. That's for sure.
So anybody who is wondering what that means, what's the correlation of stats and players, how they do, what we're supposed to look at, we also have this. Shots from 175 to 200 yards made up 23% of all shots last year in this event. And Ben, not ironic, both those par threes, number 15 and number 17, come exactly at that distance. So when you're doing your research, what do the folks need to look at for the kind of player they want to succeed this week?
100%, Chris. Look, I should have mentioned that obviously the bear trap, for those unfamiliar, is a par 3, par 4, par 3, 15, 16, 17 there at PGA National on the Champions Course. And those, as you said, it fits into that 175-ish to 200 narrative, which last year, 23%, all the years prior, up towards 27, 28% of shots, right? Anywhere between 23 and 27 and a half over multiple years. This is a placement golf course. Like we said, you've got to stay away from the trouble. So you place your tee shot, a certain spot. Just so happens a lot of the time, you'll be 175 to 200. So get onto PGATour.com, start looking at those minute stats. Guys who are really good birdie or better from that distance. Guys who are really good in proximity from that distance. Those are your two starting points, right? You find out, okay, who's playing well in that distance, and even more granularly, just go to par 3 scoring, right? Who is doing well on par 3 scoring? If you start to see guys hit both of those lists near the top, now you're starting to get somewhere. Now you're starting to find names that you can then marry up with current form maybe, or something along those lines, and what they've done here at the past. You start seeing that same name coming a few times, you know you're on a potential winner.
You mentioned current form, and one of the big things we do on Key Stats every week on Golfbet is look if there's any kind of correlation between the course fit, the recent history at the course, or how players have played in general leading up. So here's what we have for you on our course fit versus our recent history, recent form. You could beg to say that between Austin Eckroat, Chris Kirk, and Sepp Straka, the last 3 winners, I don't see much in terms of what kind of history you need on the course. Eckroat last year, second appearance, had only played once. He missed the cut. Chris Kirk had a couple of decent finishes here recently, and Sepp Straka had nothing inside the top 25, even missed a cut. Now, it's the performance leading up in the blue. How did they do in their 5 starts leading up to that win that year? That's where you want to make an argument that some kind of form matters.
Yeah, I'm going to make this argument all year that you need to have had some sort of top 25 or top 20 in the lead up to your victory. It happens more than 80% of the time on tour that players have form coming in. Look, course results here is a bit of a misnomer because, as I've said before, there are 7 million water hazards. And the reality is, you know where you can't miss, right? Other courses like, oh, if you miss on the left, it's better than missing on the right. You can get away with this, you can get away with that. Not here. If you're in the water, you're dead. You can't be in the water. So everybody knows where you have to go, and you can just essentially have a decent week, having never played well there before, by keeping it out of the hazards, right? So what you need is a good ball striker who rarely misses, who's been playing well coming in, so feels good about their swing, feels good about their misses. They're not going to miss in the water. If they are going to miss, it's going to be away from the hazard. That's what you're looking at. So again, someone who's been playing well the last month, or has at least popped one time in the last month, we're checking off the boxes, right?
It played well enough. Played well enough,
yes,
we should say.
well enough. You want something somewhere. You want something that shows that they're up there in the par 3 scoring, or doing reasonable from 175 to 200. Start ticking off all the boxes and you'll see. Not everyone, you're not going to probably find a guy that is doing everything that you want, but it's the guys who start to hit on a few of those lists, which will obviously bring you in the coming days.
We've got lots of lists. Again, if you're just getting started here, Golfbet, looking at the things that we have to offer each week, we're giving you all the big stats that have helped winners win at their course. So we started with, well, that wind Thursday night into Friday morning. Maybe wait and see what that wind's going to look like going either way. You've got your ball strikers, tee to green. Everyone's going to putt well who's at the top of the leaderboard. Who's hitting the ball best tee to green. We've got those par 3 stats, surviving the bear trap. Ben had mentioned the course history not needing to be so great as opposed to some kind of recent form in recent weeks. The top 20, you want to see at least one of those from your winner this week. Another thing we like to do here on Key Stats is look at the strokes gained numbers at each course. So this week, we're going to preface it by saying to you that we're not including Sepp Straka, Chris Kirk, and Austin Eckroat. The last 3 winners are not on this list because, of course, they're all going to be on this list because they won, and they won big in some instances. This is a week, Ben, that's really curious to me because we tend to see the same players play well each year here. Was it Keith Stewart who said there was a stat that the certain golf courses on tour tend to be more predictable than others? I would like to know where PGA National sits on that, because we have a handful of players who tend to play really well here. Shane Lowry has 3 straight top 5s. Daniel Berger should have won a couple of years ago when Straka won. He was also in the top 5 another year. Russell Henley's almost always in the top 10. Ben An has come close a couple of times. Sam Ryder's an interesting
correlation
name. Huh?
What's the correlation here? They're all good ball strikers, right? Look at that.
And your boy Cam Young.
Yeah, well, we'll get to him in a little bit. But look at the across the line of approach. That's the first one that you look at there, right? They're all very good on approach. Again, and that's because they've found the fairways essentially. Because again, remember, if you're missing the fairway here, you're probably dead. It's not like just rough or something else that you're getting. You're probably in big trouble.
Mm-hmm.
So they're finding their fairways, generally speaking, and then capitalizing on that with good approach game. And then they just need to have a reasonable putting week to contend. The difference there is, like you see, Russell Henley, not as good off the tee, but he makes up for it in putting. The one time that the winner in the recent time wasn't top 5 strokes gained tee to green, it was still 11th, and that was Ricky Fowler, and he was second in putting. He had to putt lights out to make up for not quite being at the very top of strokes gained tee to green. So again, these are the players that don't make many mistakes. They just put the ball in play, put the ball on the green, and don't always make all the putts. But this week, there'll be other players who usually make more putts, but won't be on the green as often and will hit the water more often and take themselves out of it. So that's why the ball strikers are the guys you've got to focus on. And those first 3 are actually really interesting to me. As you said, Shane Lowry probably should have won here by now.
Yeah.
Local guy, they're very popular, especially in like one and done leagues, etc., that sort of thing this week. Daniel Berger, well, he had a crack at Phoenix recently. We're looking at guys who've had some form coming in. All of a sudden, Daniel Berger's starting to pop. We'll check out his other stats before the roundtable tomorrow and see if he fits more of the bill. And Russell Henley, as I said, just solid and just makes putts. So that's where he's going to have to putt better than the rest, because he's going to have less chances, but only slightly, than those other guys that we spoke of.
And we're not just talking about winners here. If you're looking at other prop markets, you're looking at top 5s, top 10s, top 20s. This is going to be valuable information for players that you might think are under the radar. I mean, Sam Ryder had 110 to 1 to win. Can you imagine what his top 20 odds are going to be? I mean, you're probably going to get at least 4 to 1 for a top 20 for Sam Ryder. And guys like that who you want to look at and see, I like his stats, I like his numbers. Let me get this guy for 4 to 1 on the top 20. It sounds like a good deal to me.
There's an early contender for this week's sleeper pick, right? Who, just going to get this out there. Last week we said bet across the board on who?
Potgieter.
Potgieter was the
we won't talk about the end of it.
Potgieter. But at least he still cashed the top 5, top 10, top 20, top 40 that we were suggesting as a long shot, etc., because of key stats that hit last week's course.
Yep.
If Sam Ryder's going to hit key stats this week and you're getting 110 to 1, absolutely. Look, he might not win the tournament, but you're talking about those props. You're talking about head-to-heads against other players. Start looking at those things. That's where you can build your bank. You can, get stuff for other big players further down the track. And look, we have to mention him. He's your mate there, Cameron Young. I mean, he's going to be, again, very popular this week.
Because he's the ball striker.
Right,
he's the ball striker,
yes.
And this is the course. The thing, it's the putter, man. It's the putter and the mental ability to win. And I'm not going to sit here and say that Cam Young can't win on the PGA Tour, because you know what happens when we start to say that? Players start to win, and they start to go gangbusters. I'm going to stay away from Cam Young personally. I don't know how everyone else feels. I would just want to look at somebody who, do we want to say is a proven winner? Because I don't know if that's the case. Sepp Straka wasn't a proven winner, and either was Eckroat, really. So you don't need a.
There's been a lot of first-time winners here.
You need somebody. Yeah, you need somebody who you feel like can be a proven winner, even if they haven't been one yet.
Yeah, again, you're going to need some luck in the closing stretch. You're going to have to get through the bear trap on Sunday and survive, like we spoke about early. Cameron Young, for me, is at least his odds are starting to shift to a reasonable look in this field, right? You know what I mean? Like, okay, we're getting double the Shane Lowry odds. I'm not confident of going outright, but as the odds start to climb, you can start to make a top 5 potential scenario in your picks. Because, again, he's proven that he can be in the mix. What he hasn't proven is that he can close the deal. And I for one, are feeling like when he finally does that, I probably won't be on him, for that reason. But then going forward, he's the type that if he does get a win, could start to win more often.
And one of the reasons why we like to do this Key Stats video is because betting on golf, as everybody knows, is hard enough. And you have so much thrown at you. We want to help you figure out what's relevant and what's useful. Ben, you and I were both on Alex Smalley last week because of these key stats that we had identified. The guy was up there on Sunday, just couldn't make a putt and couldn't play a hole he was supposed to score well on to save his life, and that's what doomed him in on the final 6 holes. So these key stats work. They're not going to work every single week, but we're here to help you make the educated bets to help You, the viewer, make some money.
Right. If you had as I said, taken the advice on Potgieter and Smalley in just smaller markets, yes, they didn't win. But if you were looking at them in head-to-heads, if you were looking at them in the top 5, top 10 markets, you had some juice there. It was brutal watching Potgieter on Sunday for us.
Will was on him too. Will had him as the second winner.
Shout out to Will. He had him as in the expert picks, right? He had him in expert picks. He's going to win. Best I had was he was the lead sleeper, same odds, bet him across the board. You still made money there, but it's so funny. Even though if you had done what I suggested and bet across the board, you would have been up, it still felt like a loss because he lost that playoff that he should have absolutely won. Key stats matter. Start looking at these things. They're the little difference makers in your one and done leagues, in your whatever else, especially in these weeks where it's not signature event and you might need to make a little bit of a move. You might need to pick a bit of a wild card or someone that you don't want to waste. You don't want to waste a big name. Well, we're giving you the places to look to find the guy that'll still get you some cash.
All right. Good luck, and good luck to everyone on their bets.